top pollster to find out, well, who's going to gain and who's going to lose come Thursday's local elections. And Sir Anthony Selden, who's author of Johnson at 10, it's a sensational book, and we're very, very lucky to have him on the show for his first TV interview about that. Now, Sir Vince Cable, I hope, joins me now, former Liberal Democrat leader. Sir Vince, we feel honoured to have your presence on the show because we've been having a bit of trouble getting Lib Dems on. We went to the press office, we asked for the leader, he couldn't do it, we asked for any MP, they couldn't do it, so we've had to rely on you, a former Lib Dem MP. Why do you think the Lib Dems have got a problem with GB News?
Well, I would hope not. I know several of my former colleagues appear on your news channels. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. I believe in, I know your general drift of politics is a bit to the right of mine, but I believe in trying to put my weight in to add a bit more balance. So I don't have any problem speaking to.
Well, we're absolutely delighted to have you, Vince. Now, let's look ahead to the local elections on Thursday. What are your predictions? You've been in politics for a long, long time. Obviously, there's an opportunity to capitalise on perhaps some Tory losses. How do you think the Lib Dems are going to do?
Well, a good starting point is what the Conservatives themselves predicted. They said, we think we're going to lose about 1,000 seats. Now, that means that when they lose 700 or 800, they'll be able to claim it was a great victory. It wasn't as bad as they'd feared. Now, within that context, I mean, we know the Conservatives are going to lose quite a lot of seats in local councils, some of it for local reasons, most of it for national reasons, some of them to Labour, some of them to us. So I would be disappointed if the Lib Dems didn't get gains of several hundred and win several councils, of which East Cambridgeshire is probably the most promising at the moment.
And are you worried a little bit about your leader's visibility? I only ask because when YouGov polled people to ask whether they had heard of Sir Ed Davey, only 55% said yes. He's got a visibility problem, hasn't he? Certainly compared to you.
Well, anybody who leads the Lib Dems has problems between elections because we tend not to get a great deal of coverage. When I was a cabinet minister in the coalition, I would get, daily publicity. When I became leader of the Lib Dems, it was extraordinarily difficult to get any kind of exposure. And it only changed when in the 2019 elections we won a lot of council seats, about 700, then went on to do very well in the European elections, and our public opinion rating shot up percent. We were then squeezed by people frightened of Jeremy Corbyn or anti-Brexit, and we got squeezed in the general election. But I think Ed Davies, in the context of a competitive election as we have now, is getting a higher profile and will get higher recognition. And if we do well, as I expect us to do, it will translate into better national ratings.
Can you clarify, because I don't know what it is, but what is the current Lib Dem policy on Europe?
The policy on Europe is to rebuild our economic and political relations with Europe, which have been very badly damaged by Brexit. I think we recognise in practical terms we can't be talking about rejoining in the next few years. It's not feasible. There is no political consensus in the UK, and it's very doubtful if the European Union would want us back anyway in current circumstances. But we should try to rebuild connections within, this is a personal rather than a party view, but I would think that within a decade, public opinion will have swung so far that we will again be talking about joining institutions of the European Union, which may then be a very different kind of animal. But in the meantime,
so are you saying that rejoining the EU might be something that we would do if the Lib Dems gain more power? I know you're not saying immediately, but you're talking about in 10 years' time.
Well, I don't use the word rejoin because I think in 10 years' time, Europe will look very different. Ukraine will probably be a member, countries from the West Balkans. So we'll be talking about joining a different kind of setup. But what the Lib Dems have done is set out a roadmap, building up the kind of close economic connections we had through the single market, the loss of which is now doing a great deal of damage to the UK economy. So we're not talking about rejoining or just casting aside the existing arrangement. It's just impractical, but we do want to rebuild our relationship with Europe.
Sir Vince Cable, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Lovely to see you.